I want to now introduce Ambassador Fuller. So Ambassador Fuller was named Canada's Ambassador for Climate Change in 2018 for a term of 3 years. Ms. Fuller holds a Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Political Studies from Queen's University and a Master's of Science with Distinction from the London School of Economics. She served abroad as Ambassador of Canada to Uruguay from 2004 to 2007 and as Ambassador to Chile from 2012 to 2015. In Ottawa, Ms. Fuller has specialized in trade and economic policy as well as climate change and energy. At Canada's Foreign Ministry, she served as Deputy Director for Trade Remedies, Director of the Softwood Lumber Division, Chief Economist, Director General of Planning and Reporting, and Director General of Economic Development. She was seconded to Natural Resources Canada from 2015 to 2017 to head up the Office of Energy Efficiency. She also managed environment and climate change files earlier in her career while working at the Privy Council office, where she supported the Cabinet Committee on Economic and Regional Development Policy. As you can see, she is someone who is so devoted to her job that she is not going to let her ankle injury stand in the way of coming to talk to us today. And we're going to have sort of two government keynotes. One is Ambassador Fuller, and the other one is the Minister at Lunch, Minister of Environment and Climate Change Canada, Minister Wilkinson. So it is with great pleasure that I want to invite Ambassador Fuller to share some words about Canada and this important issue. Thank you, Ambassador.
I'll be shorter than normal because I'm going to kneel on this. Thank you. Thank you very much, Graham, for that introduction. And thank you to Nature Canada and the organizing committee for this invitation to speak to you this morning. Je suis vraiment ravie d'avoir cette occasion de vous adresser dans cette conférence sur les solutions climatiques fondées dans la nature, un enjeu très important. And I want to thank Professor Commanda for that wonderfully warm and kind and wise introduction or welcome to all of us, and also give my acknowledgement that we are on the unceded territories of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. So I'd like to speak to you about the international context for nature-based solutions, and to begin by noting that this year is being referred to internationally as the Year of Nature, given the number of important meetings related to nature that are on the international calendar. And that is for good reason. As you in this room know better than most, nature and biodiversity are facing significant pressures in Canada and around the world. Last spring, the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services released its Global Assessment Report, and it's the most comprehensive assessment to date, and its findings are receiving a lot of global attention. And it shows that nature is declining at rates that are unprecedented in human history, and that the rate of species extinction is accelerating. Since 1970, the world has lost 60% on average of populations of mammals, birds, fish, reptiles, and amphibians. And in Canada alone, we have over 600 species at risk. So the stakes have reached an all-time high, but the momentum, I think we can be encouraged that the momentum for action is building. So this June, the International Union for Conservation of Nature will meet with the aim of mobilizing large-scale action for nature. That same month, the UN Oceans Conference will discuss a declaration aimed at starting a new chapter of global ocean action. And then in October, the 196 parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity will negotiate a new global framework to safeguard life on Earth. And in November, the United Kingdom will host the 26th conference of the parties on climate change, the United Nations, with nature-based solutions as one of its themes. So let me just take a few moments with respect to the Convention on Biological Diversity to touch on some of the key issues that Canada would like to see reflected in the new set of global nature targets. In our view, the targets need to focus on the direct drivers of global biodiversity loss: land and sea use change, direct overexploitation, climate change, pollution, and invasive alien species. At the same time, Canada will be looking for a global goal that aims to conserve 30% of land and waters by 2030. Because as we know in this room, conservation efforts are critical. And lastly, if the new nature framework is to be successful in spurring action, we need strong country commitments to implementation. And this means better systems to make countries more accountable for the commitments that they make. It also means cooperation and support, especially for those countries that need help, as these countries often have the most biodiversity. The global actions underway to slow climate change are also showing promise, but equally are not enough. And we know that if we don't take care of the natural systems on which the world depends, we not only endanger the world's supply of food, fresh water, and multiple other vital ecosystem services, but we will also simply not be able to win the war against climate change. So taking a complementary approach to tackling climate change and biodiversity loss is essential. We've recognized the role of nature in absorbing carbon for a long time. Forests capture carbon dioxide at a rate equivalent to about 1/3 of the amount of fossil fuels burned globally. And we're starting to appreciate more fully the full range of the full role of natural ecosystems in regulating the climate. But when it comes to the role of nature in protecting against the impacts of climate change, we've only just started to see it in the international spotlight. So there's a growing recognition that natural ecosystems are nature-based solutions for climate change adaptation as well as for mitigation, and that they can significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions as well as help preserve the adaptive potential of our biosphere, reduce risks from natural disasters, and enhance the resilience of communities. Forests store and regulate water. They can help us adapt to less predictable and more extreme precipitation patterns. They can cool cities and reduce the impact of heat waves. Wetlands soak up floodwaters and help to increase water supply for farmers and for cities. Mangroves and coastal seagrasses and salt marshes can protect against storm surges. And I'm sure in the course of these 2 days we'll hear and talk about many other examples. However, in order for nature-based solutions to be effective, we must make ecosystem restoration and improved management of ecosystems a central part of decision-making, a central part of infrastructure and land use planning. And we need to approach nature-based solutions in a way that respects the rights and relies on the knowledge of Indigenous peoples. And I'm particularly looking forward to the session on that this morning, where I think I myself have more learning to do. So done right, the potential is incredible. And studies estimate that nature-based solutions could provide 1/3 of the total CO2 reductions required to keep global warming below 2 degrees. And there are also tremendous benefits. Nature-based solutions are cost-effective. Restoring upland forests and watersheds could save water utilities in 534 of the world's largest cities, an estimated $890 million a year. And investing $100 million could create enough shade in cities around the world to cut temperatures by 1 degree for 77 million residents around the world. There are also multiple co-benefits for health, for biodiversity, and for the indigenous cultures that place this high value on respect and the relationship for the lands and nature. Despite this enormous potential for nature-based solutions to help us adapt to climate change, as I noted, the international community is only beginning to realize this potential. The Global Commission on Adaptation is seeking to change this. The Commission was launched in October of 2018 and is a 2-year initiative to raise the profile of adaptation internationally and accelerate action on climate adaptation solutions. It's being led by the 8th Secretary General of the UN, Ban Ki-moon, Bill Gates, and the IMF Managing Director, Kristalina Georgieva. And Canada is one of the 5 convening countries that are providing financial support for the work of the Commission. The Global Commission has already made a significant contribution towards raising awareness and momentum for adaptation, including for nature-based solutions. Last September, its flagship report generated the largest worldwide social media focus on adaptation in history, with 6,200 Twitter posts. And then at COP25, the high-energy response to the launch of the Nature-Based Solutions Action Track was very encouraging. Nature is one of the 8 areas of focus for the Commission, the other 7 being food security, water, cities, infrastructure, locally led action, disaster risk management, and financing. And Canada is leading the action track on nature-based solutions in collaboration with Mexico and other partners. Our leadership of the Commission's action track links closely with the overall priority that the government has placed on nature-based solutions, including as a means to advance our climate objectives. It's a natural extension of our work here at home to mainstream and increase the uptake of nature-based solutions, building awareness and capacity and making project funding available through a number of programs across the government. And this work will help us to build a body of expertise and network of international partners to further support nature-based solutions at home. Our goal for the action track is to accelerate nature-based solutions for adaptation and demonstrate that these solutions can have an impact at scale in building resilience to the impacts of climate change. And we intend to do this by highlighting countries and cities and communities that are making large-scale commitments to nature-based solutions to build resilience for a significant proportion of their populations. In addition, we want to profile innovative financing solutions and advance technical knowledge that can support nature-based solutions. We also want to highlight the importance of a gender-inclusive approach in keeping with Canada's feminist international assistance policy. Through our climate finance support for developing countries, Canada is seeking to support women's leadership and decision-making in climate change mitigation, adaptation, and in the management of natural resources, because we believe this leads to better outcomes for communities, for resiliency, and for nature. As we move forward with this work under the Global Commission on Adaptation, we're looking for Canadian organizations, those of you in this room, to help us build the story that Canada has to tell, as well as to bring your international connections to the table. This is something all of you can help us to achieve. One specific opportunity to advance this work will be a dedicated event at the Adaptation Canada conference in Vancouver later this month. For those of you who plan to be there, there will be a 2-part event with a panel and breakout sessions with subject matter experts. So to conclude, 2020 is a crucial year for nature. Climate change is placing incredible stress on the natural environment, and this will increase as emissions already in the atmosphere take their toll. But there is still time to work with nature, not against it, but the window to do so is shrinking rapidly. Les histoires et les solutions que vous partagez lors de cette conférence sont plus que jamais nécessaires. Donc, je vous remercie tous pour le travail que vous faites au bénéfice de la nature et du climat. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.